Please welcome Admin Marketing Senior Manager, Salesforce, Ella Marks.
Welcome, awesome admins. I'm ready to get started with Release Readiness Live. Who's with me? Now, it is no secret that Release Readiness Live is my favorite session at Dreamforce. And that's because we get to show you cool product, but then we get to hear from you and take your questions. So I am super excited to get started with this session today. But before we do, I quickly want to say thank you to each and every one of you. Whether you're joining us in the room today or you're watching online on Salesforce Plus, thank you for spending the time with us to learn about the release and for sharing your feedback with us. Every time you ask a question in Release Readiness Live, True to the Core, or vote on an idea in the idea exchange, your feedback is heard, and you'll see a lot of the innovation that we show you today came directly from your feedback, and we really, really appreciate it. Now, Release Readiness Live is all about helping you get started with the Winter 24 release. So we've gone through all of the latest and greatest features, and we have Salesforce Product Managers who are here and ready to share their highlights. They'll share their live demos and their new features, and then at the end, we'll come back to you for my favorite part, the live Q&A. So take note of your questions, and if you're wondering, Ella, how do I ask my questions during Release Readiness Live today? I have an answer for you. If you're in the room, we will have mic runners in both of the aisles. Lisa and Mike will be here to help you ask your questions. And if you're tuning in online, you can post directly in the Salesforce Plus chat or use our brand new hashtag SalesforceRRL on X or the Trailblazer community. We can't wait to see what questions you have, and make sure to share your excitement with us as well. We have a lot of topics to cover today, and I can't think of 3 more critical topics for admins in the Winter 24 release. We'll kick it off by hearing our flow highlights. Next, we'll move to user access. And finally, we'll end with what's new with Lightning Experience. It's going to be amazing, and let's get right into the demos. We're going to kick it off and hear about what's new with Flow for all of you Flownatics out there. And to do that, please give a warm admin RRL welcome to our Senior Director of Product Management, Diana Jaffe.
Thank you to Ella, and hello, Dreamforce. I am so excited to be back here at Release Readiness Live representing Flow. But before I stand up here and just take credit for everything that you're about to see, I want to remind you that I am just one of an incredible team of product managers, developers, writers, and designers who all work together to bring you Flow each and every release. You know, when I sat down to think about what the theme of this version of Flow is, one phrase came to mind: more power. If every admin out there is a little bit of a mad scientist, then this release of Flow is one of those comically large light switches where sparks fly when you pull it. And that power starts with screen flows. Now, if you're a die-hard viewer of RRL, you've probably heard us talk about screen reactivity before, but this is the release where we make it official. Reactive screen flows are out of beta, and they are generally available. And there is a ton of new features. So let's take a look. My lovely admin Sam has created a flow to allow her reps to configure service packages and discounts for their customers. You'll notice as she selects different options, the screen dynamically changes based on what she selects and shows different options. As she goes ahead and configures the discount, notice how the screen changes using a combination of both the slider and the currency input, and how everything updates. She can even show her users when there's too high of a discount using a really cool combination of reactive formulas and display text. I mean, how cool was that? Yeah. But do you know what is even more cool is how she built this? This flow was built using entirely out-of-the-box components and entirely using clicks. Do you know what she would have had to do in the past? She would have had to call up a developer to build that into a bespoke component, and then that logic would have been hidden behind code. Now, if the business comes along and changes their mind and that discount threshold is different, that's a one-click change that Sam can make in her flow all on her own. I mean, how easy was that? But just because we're taking our GA victory lap this release doesn't mean that we're done making screen flows more reactive. So if you've been a little afraid of that beta tag, now is the perfect time to dive in and get excited about what we have coming next. But I know admins out there can also use just a really quick tip every now and then, which is something that you can go home and do in your flows today. If you just go in and update your existing screen flows to version 59, the latest version, your screen flows will start remembering user-entered values. So if they go back on the screens and come back, the values will be remembered. And this is no default values, no some things use it and some don't. You just flip this switch and you're good to go. So I think this is a super handy one that you could just take with you and go home and do today. And do you see what I mean when I say more power? This release has not only the mighty power of reactive screens, but also the quiet, subtle power of those little enhancements that we're always doing to make users happier. But we're not done talking about the power of Flow, because I think there's even more power behind the screens. This release of Flow is really the next big step in Flow becoming the automation glue that's going to connect all of your data and all of your systems together. Let me show you what I mean. So we have here a flow that's triggering when a product order gets created. Now, our factory that we need to send this to uses an ERP system that's different. So Sam has created an HTTP callout right in Flow using clicks, not code, to send information to that ERP. Because now, in Winter 24, the post method is supported, she can both send and receive information freely. The HTTP callout also automatically creates the custom data structure that our ERP system needs to ingest information, because that's going to look a little different from what we have in Salesforce. So what we need to do now is to transform that data from Salesforce into Flow using our all-new transform element. Sam can use these click-to-create visual connectors to connect a field on the triggering record to the fields in that custom data structure, and Salesforce handles the rest. So what's left to do? Debug and test, of course. When Sam goes to debug, she's able to see that everything here is working just fine. But she can also dig in on our debug panel and see all of that complex data structure, so she can go in and figure out exactly what's happening to her data. Now, I think this is a simple example, but it really starts to show the power of both transform and HTTP callouts, but there is a ton more to explore. Transform is currently in beta, so this is a great opportunity to give it a whirl and give us feedback to let us know what you think and what else it needs. Now, what have I been saying? Flow has more errors than ever before. Wait a minute. Something's wrong with my slide. Well, at least this slide tells me exactly how I can fix it, rather than telling me that here's a 21-digit exception code that I can go contact my Salesforce administrator and let them know to look it up in my SOAP API developer guide. Would you guys like it if Flow could do that instead? Well, now it can. Flow custom error messages are available for record-triggered flows in this release. This lets you give your user a specific error, letting them know exactly why they're not able to do a record change. So there are more errors, but it is on purpose. Now, I want to talk a little about the admin community with this one. This idea was filed on the Idea Exchange 18 months ago, and by the time we shipped, it had over almost 19,000 Idea Exchange points, making it the fastest-growing idea in all of automation. We heard you, admins, and that's why this is here today. In fact, one of, I would say, our most vocal admins on this particular topic sent me his real-life flow that he had that he needed this feature for. So this is a flow that checks if an opportunity product line item is being deleted when the associated opportunity has already been closed as won. And this is the error message that you received today. He couldn't use validation rules because they don't trigger on delete, and he didn't have an Apex developer to implement add error for him. Sam, why don't we show him what we can do instead? So here we have a record-triggered flow that triggers on the opportunity product, and it uses entry conditions to check if the parent opportunity status is closed as won. It's just a few clicks for Sam to go in and configure a custom error message, and she's able to include details like the name of that parent opportunity in the message. It's activated and ready to go. So when Sam goes back to the opportunity and tries to delete her project, she gets a beautiful, understandable error message instead. This means that this really benefits all of us because it means that Salesforce doesn't look broken and it doesn't look like the admin screwed something up. We know it was on purpose. Hallelujah. So I've stood up here today a lot to talk about the power of Flow, but I think all of us on the Flow team recognize that the real power of Flow comes from all of you. We can release a feature like custom errors or reactive components, and no user gets any benefit from it unless an admin thoughtfully implements it for their use case. So thank you so much for all that you do. Keep all that vigorous feedback coming, and happy automating in Winter 24. Ella, who's up next?
We need another round of applause for Sam and Diana. Let's give it up. That was just amazing. And it really makes my heart warm thinking about how the power of Flow and the power of Salesforce is all of you awesome admins. But you know what else makes my heart happy? When you answer and ask questions during Release Readiness Live. So if you haven't thought of your question yet, if you're sitting in the audience, we have a lot more product to go through today, so pull out a note on your phone, write your question down, and make sure that you can ask it when we get to our Q&A. And if you're watching online, put it right in the chat, and we can't wait to get started after we get through our demos. Now, the next topic that we're going to cover today is an awesome admin favorite on Release Readiness Live. Now, we have so much user access content today to cover that there's not one, but two amazing Salesforce product managers who are going to show us the highlights. Let's kick it off and give a warm welcome to our first product manager covering user access, Director of Product Management, Larry Tung.
Thank you, Ella. As a product manager covering record access, sharing, and much more, I'm excited about all the features that are coming with user access. And we've split this into two parts. I'll cover performance and troubleshooting, and Cheryl will cover reporting and admin experiences. Let's start with performance. One administrator told me that after creating a criteria-based sharing rule on an account, it took Salesforce 15 minutes to grant access. Understood that his org was probably one of the biggest orgs at Salesforce, but we could do better. And after he turned on faster account sharing recalculation for case and contact, it only took 3 minutes. But we can even do better. And now we have faster account sharing recalculation for opportunity in a release update. Performance improvements, they'll vary depending on your org configuration, but we want all customers to benefit. And that's why if you take no action with the release updates, we will gradually enable this in production for you. Now, let's move on to troubleshooting. And we have insufficient access logs. They're now available for event monitoring customers. Wait, event monitoring? What if I don't have that? Well, we hear you. We understand that this is not an easy thing, troubleshooting insufficient access. And we see the two ideas, 25,000 points. There's insufficient privileges, tell me more, and invalid cross-reference ID, more details, please. And so we want to partner with you on this. There is a QR code along with a short link, and we want to hear your feedback. that form will also mention some of the changes we're making with Winter 24 from a sharing perspective, but we really want to partner with you to make troubleshooting much better. So let's stay on this topic of event monitoring and event logs. For whatever reasons, whether it's security or some troubleshooting, you sometimes need what are those users who've been added or removed from certain public groups and queues. And you can now see all of that in the event logs. I want to also go back to a year ago. And you came to Release Readiness Live at Dreamforce, and you told us that permission set groups, they get into a failed status too often. And what we noticed was that 70% of the time, the issues were on us. And so we went back, and we took that feedback, and we fixed our framework. The other 30%, those were due to configurations that we don't want your org to get into. And now we've provided clear instructions on what to do on the permission set group. And then sometimes it's due to either an app install or update, or perhaps a deployment. And what we have added is a button on the permission set group so that you can recalculate the access. Now, I want to take a look at some of these features in a demo. So I'm going to be at a public groups page, and earlier last month, I had to make some sharing rule changes, added and removed some users from a public group. And similarly, the business told me, hey, you got to make some changes to some of the queue membership. So I've done all of that, but as awesome admins, I understand there's so much going on. Sometimes it's hard to even remember what happened last week. And so now you can go into the event log file browser and look at the event type, pick group membership. And from there, you can see all the users who've been added and removed. And so we pre-downloaded a CSV file, and here you can see the full list of all the users who we added and removed from public groups and queues. I think that's pretty neat. Now, going back to the permission set group, man, I didn't expect it to move into a failed status. And I see the recalculate button, but I didn't install or update an app, and I haven't done a deployment. But here, in this case, there's a message, and it's telling me that earlier I had added a permission set, and this permission set has managed users. And the permission set group that we're looking at, it has an expiration, an assignment that's set to expire. So what do? Well, based on the error message, we know there's two options, and one option is we can simply remove the permission set that we had added prior to this demo. So let's do that. So we'll go to the specific permission set that has managed users. We're going to remove that, and then when we go back to the permission set group, we'll be able to see the status move from failed back to updated. And that way, now all of you know what to do if the permission set group moves to failed. And there you have it. It's now back to updated. So now I want to turn this over to Cheryl to talk more about user access.
Awesome admins! Aren't you excited for everything user access? Now, I'm going to cover the reporting as well as the admin enhancements that we've done for the winter release. So the first area I want to talk about in reporting is the new report types. The first report type we released for permission set assignment actually retires the number 5 idea on the idea exchange. This allows you to report not only on permission set assignment, but permission set group assignment. In addition, you're also now able to report on public group and queue membership, as well as account shares. Sorry, the slide wasn't switching. Now, I want to talk a little bit about the improved experience on permission sets and permission set groups. At Release Readiness Live, for the last release, one of you asked me, why I hadn't prioritized having some sort of summary review on permission sets. And I said the idea only had like 1,700 points, so I hadn't prioritized it yet. I shared the idea. By the end of that week, it had 10,000 points, and now it has 16,000. So I said, we need to rearrange our roadmap a little bit. And I'm excited to announce that in the winter release, you now have the ability to see a summary review on both permission sets and permission set groups that show you just what's enabled. In addition to that, we also will now show you the API name for both objects and fields on permission sets. So if you have objects with similar or the same names coming from different packages, you can differentiate them easily. Now, awesome admins, I have a surprise for you. When you come back from Dreamforce in your Winter 24 orgs, you will have the ability to select all on field level security on permission sets. Can we all thank Shadon Brown's actually the engineer that worked on it. Can we give him a round of applause? Thank you. Now let's get into the demos. So first, we're going to start and set up with report types. And we have gone ahead and created some report types that we're going to use in this demo. So let's head over to the Reports tab. And let's look at the perm set assignments report. And let's open up the filters. And so what we're filtering on here is users that have not logged in the last 90 days on a specific permission set. So you can see users who are assigned to permission sets who haven't logged in. This was actually the exact request in the idea that was created. I also want to add that for both of these, all of the report types that we released, you can include any field from the user record. Now, let's head back into reports and go to the user access report. Now, what I've gone ahead and done here is create a joined report. And we're looking at a block for permission set assignments, a block for permission set license assignments, and then a block for group membership. And so you can actually report on your user access across the board. I would have loved this when I was a customer, and I'm so excited to see all the reports that you all are going to create. Tag me on the Trailblazer community. Now, let's get into the experience improvements for admins, and let's go over to our account access permission set. Now, the first thing I want to mention, in addition, we've also added a count here so you can see if this permission set is used in any permission set groups. Thank you. Now, we're going to go ahead and click on the View Summary. And I've been getting a lot of calls from my users today telling me that they couldn't see any fields on accounts. So I just want to quickly see what fields are enabled. So let's scroll down to the field permissions. Oh, there's no field level security enabled. That would have taken me at least 5 or 6 clicks to figure out previously. So let's go ahead and enable that. Let's go back into the permission set and click on Accounts and click Edit. And let's scroll down to the field level security section, and let's use our Select All. And we're going to make a wide permission set that we can use in many permission set groups. Now let's go ahead and click on the summary again and scroll down to field level security. And now you see everything is there. I can't wait for you all to try this. Give us feedback. Now, let's talk about everybody's favorite topic, roadmap. So here is some of the things that we're planning. Here's a recap of everything we delivered in Winter 24 across user access. There's even more coming in spring, and then even more in summer and beyond. If you want to deep dive into our roadmap, Future of User Management at 2:30 today. And back to you, Ella.
Thank you so much, Cheryl, Larry, and Shadon Brown. That was amazing. I love seeing all of those idea exchange points. I don't know if anybody else was trying to do the math, but I think they talked about over 100,000 points retired there. That is pretty amazing. So give them a round of applause. And also, if anyone in this room voted on any of those ideas, I think you deserve a round of applause too. So give it up for yourselves. Again, we really, really appreciate your feedback, and you see that all throughout this session. Now, last but certainly not least, we are going to dive into another amazing topic for Salesforce admins, Lightning Experience. And to bring us home, please give a warm welcome to Senior Director of Product Management, Julie Thompson.
Thanks, Ella. I am so excited to be here today at Admin RRL. I can't tell you enough. I am thrilled to get to talk about Lightning Experience and all of the great features we have in Winter 24. Before I dive into what's new, I want to recap Dynamic Forms and why we built it. We wanted to give you the tools you needed to configure record pages right within Lightning App Builder, and be able to manage all of your fields right there and no longer have to rely on page layouts. We also wanted to give you the ability to create tailored experiences so that you could show and hide fields on appropriate actions for your users. And we also gave you something that performs a little better because it leverages progressive page rendering. Now, we have been on quite the journey with Dynamic Forms. We introduced it in Winter 21 for custom objects. And then last year, we finally started to bring it to standard objects, bringing you account, contact, and opportunity. In the spring, we followed with case and lead. And then in the summer, we just had a mobile open beta for mobile. I am thrilled to stand here on stage today and tell you that with Winter 24, Dynamic Forms is now supported on almost all standard objects for desktop and mobile. Yeah, it's about time, right? Well, yes, we are on both, and we are retiring 22,000 idea exchange points just for the mobile delivery. And yes, you heard me say most standard objects. I didn't say all. We're not there yet. We are on all LWC-enabled objects, and you'll find a link to that in our release notes. It's the second link on the release note that'll give you the full list of all the objects. Now, I know you're all going to ask which objects aren't supported, so I'll call out a few here that we're still working on. We aren't on campaigns yet. We aren't on product yet. And we aren't on tasks yet. I know, but we're working on it, and we are on over 1,000 objects now. So again, please keep the idea exchange points coming. Vote for the objects that you still want to see it on. It helps us leverage other teams in Salesforce to get this done. Now, let's jump into a demo. So we are going to start our demo, and we're really going to talk about how we can optimize for mobile. So let's head over to Setup, and we're going to show how we turn on for the Salesforce mobile app. So we're in Setup, and we're going to go ahead and toggle on Dynamic Forms right there. So that will enable you to turn on Dynamic Forms for your mobile apps for your org. So now let's get started. We're going to look at the asset object, which now supports Dynamic Forms, and we're going to look at how we can optimize this page for our mobile users specifically. So, we've got a great asset record. It's got lots of information, but some of it isn't as relevant for our users in the field. So we're going to start this by upgrading from our page layout to Dynamic Forms. And we're going to go through that wizard that we've got now on all the objects. We pick the starting point that we want to start from the page layout, and then we get an exact replica of the page layout of all the sections, all the fields. From there, we can customize. We could add more fields to the page. We could remove fields from the page. We can add and move stuff to tabs. But again, we're going to just focus on how we optimize for mobile today in our short little demo that we've got. So we've got a service information section here on this asset object. And imagine that we only have sales teams using our mobile app. So they don't need the service information section. So now we can take advantage of the visibility rule per device. And we can say that only show this section for desktop. So let's go ahead and save that page and go back and see what this looks like now, first for our desktop users. So now they've got a great asset record. They can see all of their information. Looks great. Now let's swivel over to mobile and see this same experience for a mobile user. Now, as we look at their experience, we're going to see it's streamlined. We don't have that extra section on service information. So this gives you an idea of some of the power you can take advantage of now on delivering dynamic mobile experiences for your users using dynamic forms. And that's the power of dynamic forms on mobile and desktop for standard objects. Yeah. All right, the next thing I want to talk about that's coming in Winter 24 is quick actions on related lists. And I am really excited we're delivering this because you all voted for it. In September 2022, you voted this as the top item for platform for prioritization. And we heard you, so we started working on it. And we are retiring 39,000 idea exchange points with that, and now you can create custom update and update quick actions on related lists and dynamic related lists as well. Yeah. The next thing I want to talk about, you also voted on for prioritization, which is to make Lightning faster. In fact, in January 2023, you voted, and this was overwhelmingly the top choice of what you wanted to see us work on. Well, the answer is we can't make Lightning faster in a single release, but we are making Lightning faster in every release and working really hard behind the scenes to try to do that. I want to cover a little bit about how we approach making Lightning faster. There's really 4 aspects that we focus on. We focus first on how we can increase concurrency or get more things to happen at the same time. Then we look at how we can also reduce our code footprint so it gets down to the browsers faster. Then we also look at how we can optimize components and layouts, and how we can prioritize critical data so that it comes down first. So in Winter 24, a couple things that we've been doing behind the scenes. In the Get Less Code Faster, we actually removed code for Internet Explorer 11 because we deprecated that browser. So that means less code now, again, going down to the browser, and your pages are loading just a little bit faster. In optimizing components and layouts, we've been working behind the scenes to convert objects and components from Aura to LWC, again, getting performance gains along the way. And in the prioritizing critical data sooner, we've changed the way platform actions metadata loads in Winter 24 so that it only loads when the user clicks on the action. So again, we're getting the most important data down first. And you can learn a lot more about what we're doing and how we're continuing to evolve here on improving Lightning performance. There's a blog post we released last week on the developer blog, developer.salesforce.com blogs, and you can read all about how we're going and continuing this work all through next year as well. Now, I got one more thing I get to talk about, which I don't usually get to talk about at RRL because it's a pilot. For those of you who saw it in the keynote, Prompt Builder is coming to Lightning Experience, and it is going to allow you to build AI prompts right within Salesforce. And you can ground those prompts in real CRM data, and it's pilot next month. So if you're excited about it and want to play with it, contact your AEs. This will GA in the spring. And with it, there'll be 2 use cases that are available to you out of the box. The first is a sales email generation. So you can write a prompt to have the AI create a sales email to help drive conversion. And you can ground that email in real data from your CRM. Field generation will allow you to take a prompt to have AI complete an individual record field. It's great for writing summaries or descriptions. And again, you can pull in data from other records right into that field in the prompt. It's really powerful stuff. If you haven't seen it in action, do go check out a demo at the booths here at Dreamforce. And then again, both of these will be available as part of the pilot and will be available when we GA in the spring. And when we GA in the spring, expect to see Prompt Builder interacting with other features in the C360. And that's it for me for Winter 24 for Lightning Experience. I'm going to hand it back to Ella.
Thank you, Julie. That was amazing. And now we're going to get started for my favorite part of the session, our Q&A. So Julie, come up here with me for a second. We're going to look at all 186,000 idea exchange points that we just saw throughout this session. That is amazing. And while we're getting set up here, just a quick reminder, we have a lot of ways for you to ask your questions. So if you're online, you can post directly in the Salesforce Plus chat or in the Trailblazer community. We also, if you're in the room, Mike and Lisa are standing right here. They have microphones, so please come up to them if you have questions. All right, so we are getting set here. I know we've seen a lot of questions and excitement coming in so far, so we can't wait to get to our Q&A. But before we get our product managers up here again, I want to introduce someone else who's here on stage. We have the amazing Jennifer Lee, lead admin evangelist, straight from the admin keynote yesterday, where she did an amazing job. And Jen is going to be here to help us answer questions from our online audience. Awesome. Thank you, Jen. Well, let's bring out the rest of our product managers, and we'll take a seat and get started. All right. I'm going to get settled here. And while we do, Jen, tell us what's going on online.
Well, the online community is lit, and Squire is very excited about Flow, and he's actually in the audience. That's cool. Everyone's excited about the error messages, HTTP. People are also excited for Cheryl for listening to us admins out there and getting stuff done. So that's awesome.
Thank you, Jen. Well, let's take our first question from that online audience. Is there one from Salesforce Plus that came in?
Yes. So question for Diana. Can we change field names in transform element? My vendor might be using different names in the payload.
Yes, so that's a great question, and actually an opportunity to talk about a feature in Transform that we didn't have time to demo, which is that Transform supports formulas in the middle. So if you need to truncate a field or put two fields together, things like that, that's all available via Transform. So yeah, you can just use a Salesforce formula right in the middle of that Transform to do that.
Thank you.
Thanks, Diana. Now, it looks like we have a few folks lined up in the room. Let's start with a question from the room. Lisa, over to you.
Thanks, Ella. I'm here with Sar. We go way back. He has a question about the custom error messages.
Hi. First of all, I want to say I'm very excited about the insufficient privilege ID that you're going to solve, because I created it back in 2007. So I invite everyone to go home or open your iPads and vote for it, because, yeah, it's a great one, by the way. Yeah, thank you. So my question is regarding the error handler, the error messenger.
Yeah.
Can we customize and add graphics or color and make it red, or not just the text? Is it possible?
I don't believe so, no. I don't believe the framework supports that, so you might be able to get an emoji in there. I haven't tried it, but now I kind of want to. I'm not sure. I don't believe you can customize color as of yet, no.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa, and thank you, Diana. Mike, over to you with our next question in the room.
Yeah, I'm with Savali, and she's like me. We didn't party with the Foo Fighters last night, so we still have a voice. She has a question for Larry about event monitoring.
So you did mention about the event log. Do we know how back can we go and see which users were added to the public group?
So event monitoring covers 30 days, and so there's no difference with this log type than the rest of them.
It would be nice to see if we can, audit for at least 6 months or 1 year.
Thank you for your feedback. It sounds like we need maybe an idea exchange idea there. And you have a whole
Stump dumb, yeah!
1 point for
Beat
Mike.
that, Lisa! It's the hard question line.
Okay, before we get too into our competition in the room here, Jen, let's go back to a question from the folks tuning in online.
Sure. We have a question from Salesforce Plus from Jonathan for Julie. Will dynamic forms support more than one filter?
I'm going to hand that off to Elizabeth Martin, who is the PM for dynamic forms.
Is it on? There we go. Dynamic forms should support more than one filter today. I've created a lot of demos with more than one filter. So if there is any issue with that, please reach out to us and let us know and we can look into it.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Let's go to our next question in the room. Lisa, over to you.
Thank you. I am with Elisa, and we have another question about dynamic forms.
Yes. I wanted to see if there's any space optimization coming for dynamic forms.
Tell me a little bit more about that, because I know we have compact, comfy. What else are you looking for there?
I think today the label and the value are on different lines, so it takes up a little more space than a standard record detail component.
Got it. Yeah, that is something that we're starting to think about now. We don't have any targeted releases yet, but it's if anyone attended the True to the Core session earlier, this was something that came up there as well. And so we're starting to think about how we build that into the roadmap.
Great, thank you.
Thank you for your question, and thank you, Elizabeth, again. Mike, let's go over to you with our next question in the room.
So this is the hard question for Larry line. The other two people are just figuring that out right now. This is my buddy Squire from the Midwest. Yeah. He has a question for Larry.
Before I give you that question, Larry, I do want to just do a little shout out for the architect ambassadors and the well-architected framework. The flow ability to use HTTP callouts and transform, that's a power that I don't think admins have had yet. And I'm going to ask that everyone who can't wait to use that, like myself, take a minute to review some of those white papers that are over there and help with decision guides and really be thoughtful about that unlimited cosmic power you're being granted. So anyway, my question might be a little bit more soft. Larry, I'm just wondering, anytime I hear somebody recalculating anything in production, specifically about permission set groups, I'd really like to know what's happening under the covers. Are we going to have any issues with deployments or the metadata changes? Like, what is happening that it's frozen and recalculating, and what do I have to worry about?
I can actually take that. So what we actually have that we haven't opened up to all of you yet, because we need to build a UI, is we've actually built a history of everything that's happening with the recalculation for the permission set groups. You'll see that on the permission set groups in the next release or two. I don't know exactly when yet, but it's there. And so you'll be able to see all the different calculations that are happening. But I would love to chat with you either after this or reach out to me in the Trailblazer community and so we can set up some time, because I'd love to show you what we have and get your feedback on it.
I'd love to see it.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you, Squire, and thank you, Cheryl. Jen, let's go back to you for a question from Salesforce Plus.
Sure. This next question is from Evan for Diana. When will we be able to traverse relationships when specifying filters in the get records element within Flow?
Anyone else want that? Vote for it on the idea exchange. That is definitely something that we want to do. That's one of those, there is a long list of things like that that we would really like to do, especially around conditions, both in get records and ideally also in entry conditions on record triggered flows. So we usually try to do it everywhere, update records as well when we make a change like that. So that is on my wish list too, but no firm dates on that, and would love to hear more community support to help us get it prioritized.
Thank you, Diana. Yeah, idea exchange, idea exchange, idea exchange, I think is what we're hearing in this session. Lisa, you have quite a line forming behind you, so maybe we should go over to you next.
Would you say that my line is longer than Mike's line? I think I would say so.
Just a little bit.
So I'm with my friend Monica, and she's feeling a little nervous to ask her question. I'm wondering if we can get a little encouragement for her to ask her question.
Hey, I have a question for flows. In screen flows, you have said like we can go from one screen to other screen and the data will be saved in the previous screen. But I wanted to know, does it work for the lookup fields also? Because I have put in a point for the idea exchange because it was not working for lookup. So just wanted to know that.
I'm going to point you to Sam Reynard,
Hi.
PM for ScreenFlows.
Hello. That is exactly what Diana's hot tip in the presentation was all about. So before this release, there were some fields that remembered their values when you came back to them. This is, I resume the screen, there was an error on next and it reloads all the values, or on previous and next. When you upgrade your ScreenFlow to API version 59, so go to the advanced settings of your flow details and change the pick list to 59 or higher, every component will remember their values. This is lookup, this is data table, this is custom components. It is, yes, the most important quality of life thing we've done for ScreenFlows for a minute.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sam. Mike, over to you next for a question in the room.
Okay. So this is the Midwest line. We've had Wisconsin with cheese curds. Y'all are hungry now. This is Jackie from Kansas City. I like a spicy barbecue. You spicy barbecue? Sweet barbecue? It's fine. Goes good with cheese curds. It's also why my line's shorter. We're all hungry over here. She actually has a question I would ask if I was still an admin.
Hi, so I am one of 8 admins on my team, and yet we still can't get through all of the critical updates and the release updates that are in that setup area, kind of like what you showed on the faster recalculation. So we have a lot of fear sometimes enabling those to make sure it's all tested and how we can do those test things. Do you have any tips on how to manage those and make sure that we're including those in some of our organization maintenance? Right now we're making cases for each singular one and then trying to do them, but mostly I'm doing them. So I want to make sure, how can I get some of my team to get interested in doing some of those as well to make sure we can kind of share that load?
So some of you may not know is I also own the release update framework. So I recognize that there is so much. When I see that little head exploding lollipop emoji, that's what I think of when we release so many things that admins have to enable and do. We're looking at how we can make this simpler for you, and not just with release updates, for everything. I don't have a great answer for you today, but what I would love to do is to set up some time with you, maybe post Dreamforce, to talk to you about some of the visions there, where we're thinking of going with that product, because it hasn't really had any love since it was released several years ago. It's been very much in maintenance mode, and I recognize that it is a lot to be an admin. I was an admin for a long time, and there's so much for you to do every day, and we just keep adding to it every release. So we're going to try to lessen the burden instead of increase it. But I don't have any great tips for you other than keep doing what you're doing. But we hear you, and we recognize how much work you do have to do every day.
Thank you so much, and thank you, Cheryl. For our next question, let's go back to our online audience. Jen, over to you.
Sure. The next question is from Elizabeth, directed to Julie or Elizabeth. With the Lightning App Builder for record pages, is the idea to retire page layouts further in the future?
I'll take that one. So no, we're not trying to retire page layouts. We know you all depend on page layouts. A lot of you are still have classic users. So page layouts, our strategy it's not going to go away. We're trying to just make things easier for you and make it so that you have the right tools for the right situations that you need. But I don't know. I mean, I think it would take us 20 years before we would try to end of life page layouts if we ever did. So they're not going anywhere. They'll be here for as long as I'm here.
Thank you, Julie, for a little bit of comfort there. All right, we have more questions in the room. So Lisa, back over to you.
We do, and I want to point out this line is not just for people in the Midwest or anywhere. This is a line for everybody. Everybody is welcome in this line. Come on up. This is the friendly line. Everybody, we are inclusive to everybody. I am with the one and only Andrew Russo, and he has a question for Cheryl about setup. No, I'm holding it.
Okay, so we have a lot of custom managed packages in our org from different App Exchange apps, as well as we have standard permission sets, which it looks like a lot of product teams are implementing into releasing in the releases when they add features, rather than making us make our own permission sets. That's great, but when I create a custom field on something like a contact, now I either have to clone their standard one that they have that has the contact permissions and assign that, and then when they add a new standard field, I have to either add that to my custom one or assign both and forget. It's kind of a hot mess. Same thing happens with managed packages. It's just like it doesn't work for scalability and it creates technical debt. Can we get something to fix that experience?
I think this is a really good call out and something that I saw the idea you put on the idea exchange for this. So definitely if a lot of you agree, go vote on the idea that Andrew put out there. But this is something that I've actually been talking with my team about, both from the managed permission sets as well as the standard permission sets, and how we can make this easier for admins, because every time we talk to admins like yourself who are using a lot of packages or trying to use some of the out-of-the-box solutions, it ends up being more work for you because you end up having to create another permission set to manage the custom fields or tabs or other objects you're adding to whatever solution you're either buying from the App Exchange or using from us. I don't have this is exactly what we're going to do when yet, but it is something I've been talking about with my team. We know it's something we need to solve. What I'll do is I'll follow up with you post Dreamforce and we can walk through some of the ideas, because we have 2 ideas that we've been kind of ideating on that I'd love to run by you and anybody else that's struggling with this on how we could potentially fix this in the future. But I don't know exactly when that would come on the roadmap yet.
Thank you, Cheryl, and thank you, Andrew. And I think we have time for about 2 more questions. So don't worry, if you're still in line, I will let you know how you can ask your questions and get them answered after this session. Mike, over to you.
So thanks, Ella. This Release Readiness Live, so I'm here to announce an update, Mike Stand 2.0. I heard your feedback, Lisa. We are expanding west now with Brett. Look at that, he's from Denver, Colorado. He has a question from Diana.
Hey, thanks, Mike. Thanks, Diana. So my question is about flow, as you might expect. We're big flow fanatics over at OpenTable, and we deploy a lot of flows, a lot of versions. We have a best practice to always kind of keep the description of the flow updated with whatever kind of new business process or whatever you've changed about it. But I would love to know if you have anything on the roadmap related to a more formalized log, kind of detailing out what changes happened between different flow versions.
Oh. A lot of applause for that question,
yeah.
Lisa.
And I see some Flow PMs in the audience also applauding for that. There's nothing super imminent, but this is something that we discuss a lot and we talk about. I would say we have sort of a coalition around flow management, maintenance, kind of that whole long-term life cycle of the flow rather than just when you're building it for the first time. So that's definitely one of the things on that wish list, but there's several. So stay tuned, because I think we're starting to talk more about that. That's been a chatter, but that's a significant amount of work. So it'll take a little time for us to get back.
Thank you, and thank you, Diana. For our last question today, Lisa, I'm going to come back over to you.
Yes.
Sparkle.
Hello? I had to take him down. It was a lot. Thank you. I'm with Bruce from the West Coast. Okay, everywhere. And he has a really great question that we're ending this session on.
Hello. My question is around process automation and flows. I was in a couple of sessions where we saw the ability for admins to log on as any user in process automation settings. My enterprise org doesn't have that. What's the magic button?
Do you mean in debug where you can run the flow as a different user?
Correct.
There's only certain flow types that support it, so it might be that. I don't know, Sam, do you know?
I'm trying to remember off the top of my head. I would highly recommend searching in help, Salesforce help, Like flow run as user should get you to the right page. I know there are a couple of things that you have to do. It might be, if I'm remembering correctly, limited to sandbox, and then the process automation settings page should have it. And if what you're seeing doesn't match the documentation, please do file a case so we can figure out what's going on.
Also, I see some MVPs in the audience who are giving a thumbs up to that, and they might actually be better at answering that question than the product team. So you can also ask someone with a golden hoodie, and they might have the answer.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Sam and Diana. And thank you, everyone, for asking your questions today. Please give it up. Now, if you didn't get your question answered today, we do have a way for you to post your question. So we have this QR code here. It's for the Release Readiness Trailblazer community. So use this QR code, go to the community, and post your question. And that is where we're going to be looking to follow up with you on some of those answers. So take a moment so you can take out your phones and get that link if needed. And then if you want to keep learning about the Winter 24 release, I mean, who doesn't? We have so much coming for admins this release. Please check out our Learn More Trail Mix. This includes blog posts and videos and trailhead badges and even more resources where you can dive into Winter 24. And if you complete this trail mix, you get a special community badge and you can enter to win a certification voucher. So make sure to get this link here. It's sforce.co/learnmore, more spelled like roar. And you can check that out. Again, we have tons of great content there about flow reactivity and even more Salesforce admin and user highlights. So make sure to check that out. We also have more Release Readiness Live coming for you. So today in this room at 2:30 p.m., you can watch the developer preview live. It'll also be live on Salesforce Plus, so make sure to join us for that. And we'll have even more Release Readiness Live after Dreamforce. So there's a link in this trail mix here where you can find more about the 4 Release Readiness Live sessions that I'll be coming to you in just about 2 weeks. Now with that, before everyone goes today, please share your feedback with us. Feedback is a gift, and it is so important that we get your feedback on these sessions. That's how we continue to be able to do things like Release Readiness Live at Dreamforce for you. So if you enjoyed today's session, if you have some feedback for us, please scan this QR code and share it with us today. And with that, I want to say a huge thank you. Thank you to everyone in the audience. Thank you to our PMs and RPMs who joined us here as well. Huge thank you to all of you, and we'll see you next time in the cloud.